Ladies and gentlemen, it's 3 p.m. here in Cairo. Welcome to this afternoon edition of Panorama News. I'm Yasmin Bakir and Angie Meher will be joining you for the next 45 minutes live on the air. Good afternoon, Angie.
Afternoon to you, Yasmin, and to all our viewers. Then, ladies and gentlemen, we begin with a look at the political headlines coming right up. "203 pardoned prisoners in protest-related cases released." Six-way Nile Basin Initiative meeting concludes. And Syrian peace talks to start in Astana with opposition boycotting.
Welcome back. 203 prisoners pardoned by President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi were released on Tuesday. Al-Sisi issued a decree on Monday pardoning the prisoners who were charged in protest violation cases. The list of pardoned included 203 prisoners, most of them youth. The youth had received final court verdicts for violations related to protests. Member of the Presidential Pardoning Committee, Mohammed Abdelaziz, said that the committee will continue to look into other cases, paving the way for another pardoning decrees.
A ministerial Nile Basin committee ended its meetings in the Sudanese capital, Khartoum, on Tuesday. Minister of Water Resources and Irrigation, Mohammed Abdelati, took part in the six-party meeting aimed at discussing Nile Basin Entebbe initiative. The results of the meeting will be submitted to the Nile Basin Ministerial Council, which is due to meet in Uganda to discuss solutions and options that would facilitate joint action by Nile Basin states to preserve the interests of all countries. Fresh talks over the Nile Basin Initiative started in February in Tanzania capital Dar es Salaam, aimed at reaching an agreement on the initiative.
Libyan forces launched a ground offensive on Tuesday to capture the oil port of Ras Lanov, one of two terminals they lost control of earlier this month. The Libyan National Army has been mobilizing ground forces and carrying out airstrikes as it prepares to try to take Ras Lanov and Es Sadr from the country's Benghazi defense brigades. The BDP advanced March the 3rd on Es Sadr and Ras Lanov ports. The ports are two of the largest in Libya, with a combined potential capacity of about 600,000, but both were badly damaged in previous rounds of fighting and were operating at a fraction of pre-conflict levels. The LNA has retained control of Brega and Zutena, the two ports closest to Benghazi.
Plumes of smoke could be seen rising above western Mosul on Tuesday as Iraqi forces continued with the offensive to oust the Daesh terrorist group from the northern city. Iraqi troops have surrounded western Mosul and military leaders vow it's only a matter of time until they crush the latest major stand of the Daesh terrorist group in Iraq. We have the details.
Iraqi troops battled Daesh terrorist group for control of a bridge over the river Tigris in Mosul on Tuesday as civilians streamed out of the recaptured western neighborhoods. Progress by Interior Ministry rapid response units have been slowed by rain on Monday, but heavy fighting resumed on Tuesday with the Iron Bridge the prize at stake. Government forces also pushed into areas of western Mosul. Daesh last read about in the city that has been the de facto capital of their self-declared state. Sources said that the troops had advanced to within 100 meters of the bridge, but were slowed by sniper fire from gunmen positioned in high buildings. They expected to gain control of the Iron Bridge and the nearby area by the end of the day. The bridge connects Mosul's old city with the eastern side of the city. Capturing it would mean Iraqi forces control 3 of the 5 bridges in Mosul that span the Tigris, all of which have been damaged by the militants and US-led airstrikes. Since starting the offensive in October, Iraqi forces with US-led coalition support have retaken eastern Mosul and about 30% of the west from the militants, who are outnumbered but fiercely defending their last stronghold in Iraq. As many as 600,000 civilians are caught with the militants inside Mosul, which Iraqi forces have effectively sealed off from the remaining territory that Daesh controls in Syria and Iraq.
The Russian Defense Ministry is in touch with the Syrian opposition generals who boycotted a third round of peace talks due to begin in Kazakhstan on Tuesday. The Syrian opposition said it would not attend the talks because of Russia's unwillingness to end the airstrikes against civilians and its failure to put pressure on the Syrian army to abide by a widely violated ceasefire. Russia's Interfax news agency said Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov as saying those reasons were unconvincing and that the opposition's refusal to attend had come as a surprise and that Russia was dealing with the situation. Syrian rebel groups on Saturday called for the postponement of talks in Kazakhstan and said further meetings would depend on whether the Syrian government and its allies adhered to a newly declared March 7th through 20th ceasefire.
American President Donald Trump's special envoy Jason Greenblatt is to hold talks with the Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas in Ramallah on Tuesday. The talks are to discuss the latest developments in the peace process that has been stalled for 3 years. Greenblatt earlier held talks with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu over ways to reach peace with the Palestinians as well as settlement construction. A statement was made by the office of Netanyahu on Tuesday. It said the two reaffirmed the joint commitment of both the Israelis and the U.S. to advance a genuine and lasting peace between the Israelis and Palestinians that strengthens the security of Israelis and enhances stability in the region. The statement said they also continued discussions relating to settlement construction in the hope of working on an approach that is consistent with the goal of advancing peace and security.
The Netherlands Prime Minister on Tuesday said that the Turkish sanctions against the Dutch government in the wake of a diplomatic clash were not too bad, but were inappropriate as the Dutch have more to be angry about. The sanctions include freezing all diplomatic communications, but no economic measures. We have more details in the following report.
Turkey said it was suspending top-level ties with the Netherlands and blocking the return of its ambassador in a spiraling crisis over the holding of rallies abroad ahead of a crucial referendum. President Recep Tayyip Erdogan also made accusations against the German Chancellor Angela Merkel as acrimony flared between Turkey and EU states. Both Germany and the Netherlands have blocked Turkish ministers from staging rallies to court the vote of expatriate Turks in the April 16 referendum on giving Erdogan greater powers. Ankara was especially angered by the acts of the Netherlands days ahead of general elections in the country. The authorities prevented foreign minister's plane from landing and expelled the families minister over the weekend. Turkish Prime Minister said that until the Netherlands compensates for what it has done, high-level relations and planned meetings at a ministerial and higher level have been suspended. He added that Turkey will not allow the Dutch ambassador to Ankara to return until the Netherlands meets Turkey's conditions over holding rallies. The ambassador is currently outside of the country. Twice over the weekend, Erdogan accused the Netherlands, a NATO ally, of acting like the Nazis. His comments sparked outrage in a country bombed and occupied by German forces in World War II. The US urged both countries to resolve their row. With the exchanges worsening Turkey's already fraught relations with the EU, Brussels sternly warned Ankara to avoid intensifying the crisis.
The EU's top court ruled Tuesday that European companies can ban employees from wearing religious or political symbols, including the Islamic headscarf. The European Court of Justice said it does not constitute direct discrimination if a firm has an internal rule banning the wearing of any political, philosophical or religious sign. The Luxembourg-based court was ruling on the case of a Muslim woman fired by the security company G4S in Belgium after she insisted on wearing a headscarf. However, in another case, it found that a French company that dismissed a software engineer for refusing to remove her headscarf may have breached EU laws, barring discrimination on religious grounds if it did so, not because of a general internal rule, but just because a particular client objected.
Pirates have hijacked an oil tanker off the coast of Somalia in the first hijacking of a large commercial vessel there in 2012. An official with the organization Oceans Beyond Piracy said the Ares 13 on Monday reported being approached by two skiffs. The ship has been carrying fuel from Djibouti to Somalia's capital of Mogadishu. 8 Sri Lankan crew members were on board the vessel and an investigation was underway. Officials added that it was unclear what the circumstances were surrounding the ship stopping off northern Somalia, an area known to be used by weapons smugglers and members of Al-Qaeda-linked extremist group Al-Shabaab. And it was not immediately clear who owned the ship or if there was any flagged.
Moving to the death toll that has risen to 72 after Saturday's collapse of a mountain of garbage in a landfill outside Ethiopia's capital. Many victims were women and children as makeshift homes inside the Kosha landfill were buried in debris. It's not clear how the collapse occurred. Officials say they've already relocated hundreds of people from the landfill, where waste pickers salvaged items to make a living and others found inexpensive housing. Ethiopia has declared 3 days of national mourning that will be observed as of tomorrow. First funerals of victims began on Monday.
The body of the half-brother of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un was inbound this week in Kuala Lumpur, with no family member coming forward to claim the remains, and as a diplomatic spate with Pyongyang drags on. It's been over a month since Kim Jong-nam was murdered on February the 13th, when Malaysian police say 2 women smeared super toxic nerve agent on his face and the budget terminal of Kuala Lumpur International Airport. We have more details in the following report.
50 North Koreans for overstaying their visas, the Deputy Prime Minister said on Tuesday, in an apparent exception to a departure ban imposed after the assassination of Kim Jong-nam. The killing of the half-brother of North Korea's leader Kim Jong-un with VX nerve agent in Malaysia last month triggered an angry standoff between Kuala Lumpur and Pyongyang that has seen them expel each other's ambassadors and refuse to let their citizens leave. On Tuesday, Deputy Prime Minister said that 50 North Koreans working in Malaysia state on Bernal Island would be deported from Malaysia despite the ban. He did not say why the government had decided on the expulsion despite Kuala Lumpur's ban on North Korean nationals leaving the country. The diplomatic crisis erupted last month after North Korea attacked the Malaysian investigation into Kim's killing as an attempt to smear the secretive regime. 3 Malaysian embassy staff and 6 family members are stranded in North Korea as a result. Pyongyang, which has never confirmed Kim's identity, has repeatedly demanded the return of his body, but Malaysian authorities have refused to release it without a DNA sample from next of kin. The body, which is currently being kept in a morgue in hospital, has been embalmed to prevent it from decomposing more than a month after the assassination. 2 women have been arrested and charged with the murder. Footage shows them smearing a 45-year-old's face with a piece of cloth. Pyongyang has insisted that the most likely died of a heart attack.
A British-owned cruise ship has smashed into and damaged pristine coral reefs in a remote corner of Indonesia, known as one of the world's most biodiverse marine habitats. Raja Ampat in eastern Indonesia has long been a top attraction for intrepid travelers and avid divers, home to palm-fringed islands surrounded by an underwater kaleidoscope of coral and fish. The boat, which was carrying 102 passengers and 79 crew, became grounded on the reefs and had to be refloated by a tugboat before continuing on its journey.
Police in riot gear stood guard on Tuesday as Nepali civic officials used bulldozers to tear down a relief camp in the capital for victims of the 2015 earthquake in a bid to force people to return to their home villages. The quake killed 9,000 people and destroyed nearly 1 million homes, monuments and other structures. However, reconstruction has been slow and the government's attention has been diverted to a prolonged political crisis. An official said about 2,000 people were staying in roughly 440 demolished huts fashioned out of a bamboo and plastic on in the heart of Kathmandu, refusing to go back home and rebuild their own homes. He said that they should take the money provided by the government and rebuild their homes now. Government figures show that just 76,000 homes have been rebuilt and 553,000 families have received a first installment of nearly $500 in rebuilding aid. That compares with more than 600,000 families that have been hit by the quake, each of which is entitled to receive $2,000 in aid.
Winter storm Stella unleashed its fury on much of the northeastern United States on Tuesday, dropping snow and forcing school closures and thousands of flight cancellations. Stella, the most powerful winter storm of the season, was forecast to dump up to 2 feet of snow in New York and whip the area combined with winds of up to 60 miles per hour, causing treacherous whiteout conditions. The National Weather Service issued a 24-hour blizzard warning from midnight Monday for a region stretching north into Connecticut and south into New Jersey. That includes New York City. More than 6,800 U.S. flights were canceled for Monday and Tuesday, with airports in New York, Boston, Baltimore, Washington, and Philadelphia the hardest hit.